With the rise in popularity for action figure collecting in 2025, we've also seen more brands getting recognition, with the likes of InArt Collectibles, Storm Arena, and LPZZ. So, this got me wondering, are there more foreign brands that produces high-quality action figures? So, I got the Sun Wukong from a Chinese company called Long Tian for $96, and I have mixed views about this action figure. Let's start with the head sculpt, because this is clearly inspired by the version of Sun Wukong from the game Black Meat Wukong. The sculpted fur texture is surprisingly detailed for a $96 figure. You can see individual strands around the cheeks and jawline, and the layered hair sculpt matches the in-game design really well. So, if you're a fan of Black Meat Wukong, this head sculpt alone might already sell the figure to you. Now, let's talk about the clothing. The fabric choice looks visually good. It has the traditional layered warrior monk aesthetic that I think was inspired by the game as well. The stitching on the robe is surprisingly clean, and the belt-like cloth is wide, which gives us the option for more dynamic posing. The tiger pattern cloth also looks clean and hides the monkey tail perfectly. The boot looks great and have a nice weathered finish. Moving on to the hands, you get multiple swap-out hands. You get a gripping hand, a relaxed, a flat open hand, and a praying hand. Now, this surprised me. The gourd really looks great. This gourd is highly used in the game, so it was a nice addition. The sculpt has texture, and the paint wash gives a bit of realism. It really helps elevate the small details. The staff also is iconic. The sculpt is clean and the gold detailing is simple but effective. It's lightweight, which is good for balance during posing. However, I wish it had more weathering. It looks slightly too clean for a mythological weapon that should feel ancient and powerful. There is also an adjustable stand included, which gives us a platform for more dynamic poses. Now, for the articulation of the action figure. The articulation is quite limited for a 1/12 scale action figure. The neck is connected to the head, which limit the head tilts. The shoulder joint feels limited as well. This is the maximum arm extension I can do without it feeling like it might break. But it does have double jointed elbows, which is great. The ab crunch looks and feels solid too. It can go as far as this. The leg split is also limited by the soft good pants, but the knee joints are double jointed as well. There is no toe articulation, which would have been a game changer. Despite the few limitations I mentioned, the figure can still be posed well. Now, before I give my final verdict, let's talk about more detailed issues with the figure. First, there's basically no hip articulation. For a 1/12 scale action figure, especially for a character like Sun Wukong, that's a big limitation. It restricts wider stances and makes certain martial art poses harder to achieve. Second, the butterfly joints don't really feel like butterfly joints. The forward range is very minimal, so you don't get that deep cross-body motion you'd expect for a staff swinging poses. Parts of the hand wraps were slightly coming apart as well. It's not catastrophic, but it does affect the premium feel. And after about 2 hours of posing and adjusting, some of the joints started loosening up. Nothing completely floppy, but looser than when I first opened it. The tail falls easily as well. So, for collectors who like to post their figures, that could become a long-term concern. Alright, so here's my verdict after handling the figure for a while. From a display standpoint, this figure looks really good. The silhouette is strong, especially with the layered clothing and the teethed head sculpt. On a shelf, under proper lighting, this could easily stand out, so I'd give it an 8 out of 10 for display value. Now, when it comes to articulation, this is where things get a little tricky. The limited neck movement and shoulders do affect certain dynamic poses. You can feel that restriction when trying to push it further. For a 1/12 scale action figure, I expected just a bit more freedom, so articulation-wise, I'd say this could be around a 5 out of 10. Not terrible, but definitely the deal breaker for some collectors. With that said, if you work around the limitations, you can still get some really solid poses. Now let's talk about the value. For $96, I'd say this is still far from the level of brands like LPZZ and InArt Collectibles. The accessories feel a little underwhelming, and the issues I mentioned were immediately noticeable right out of the box. If they improve the articulation and tighten up their quality control in future releases, they could seriously step up into a higher tier. But for now, at $96, I personally don't think that this figure is worth the price.